This is a short introductory course on Italian neorealism. This following lecture will help you in understanding the key features of this movement. Italian neorealism, also known as the Golden Age of Italian cinema, is a national film movement characterized by stories set amongst the poor and the working class. Rejecting the illusory glamour and set-bound artificiality of conventional filmmaking, neorealism took its stories from the struggles of the working class, went out into the streets to record them, and used non-professional actors to tell them. They improvised the scripts on site, and their films conveyed a powerful sense of the plight of ordinary individuals oppressed by political circumstances beyond their control. Thus, Italian neorealism was the first post war cinema to liberate filmmaking from the artificial confines of the studio and, by extension, from the Hollywood originated studio system. Neorealism was the expression of an entire moral or ethical philosophy and not simply just another new cinematic style. The stylistic characteristics of Italian neorealism are: 1. An avoidance of neatly plotted stories. 2. They had a documentary visual style. 3. The use of actual location where exteriors were used rather than studio sites. 4. The use of non-professional actors. 5. Use of conversational speech and not literary dialogue. 6. Avoidance of artifice in editing, camera work, and lighting in favor of a simple, styleless style. The ideological characteristics are: 1. A new democratic spirit with emphasis on the value of ordinary people. 2. A preoccupation with Italy's fascist past and its aftermath of wartime devastation. 3. A blending of Christian and Marxist humanism. 4. An emphasis on abstract ideas. The Bicycle Thief, directed by Vittorio De Sica, is probably the archetypal example of neorealism. This film is a criticism of social inequality. Looking at the aesthetics of the film, one of the first elements to be observed is the use of black and white film as opposed to the popular Technicolor process. Black and white was seen as the best way to represent reality. Italian films had once been distinguished by their superior studios among Europe. However, the Allied bombings during the war had left the Cinecittà studio subject to serious damage. While filmmakers in Rome denied both funding and facilities, they were forced to make use whatever resources they could. As a consequence of the conditions and in retaliation to American cinema, a new era of cinema was born, that is, Italian neorealist. The concept of the city was fundamental to many of the neorealist films. Children feature as major roles in many of the neorealist films too, and can also add a lot in terms of emotional engagement for the audience. Their characters tend to be more observational than actively involved. These films had a determination to fight established conventions whilst being truthful in its reflection of society. In Rossellini's Rome Open City, a film about the daily struggles of living in Rome while under German occupation, the children who witness the hardship are representative of hope in the future. This was a recurrent theme of the film movement. The period between 1943 and 1950 in the history of Italian cinema is dominated by the impact of neorealism, which is properly defined as a moment or a trend in Italian cinema rather than an actual school or a group of theoretically motivated and like minded directors and scriptwriters. Its impact, nevertheless, has been enormous, not only on Italian film but also on French New Wave cinema, the Polish film school, and ultimately on films all over the world. It also influenced several Indian directors, including Bimal Roy, who made Do Biga Zameen in 1953 after watching The Bicycle Thief, which was produced in 1948.